Hi, Pat. Hi, Mia. How are you guys doing?
Hey, good evening, Suki. Hey, Miss Moses.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Brooklyn 9? Can you hear me?
You sure can. Hey, Miss Boyd.
Okay, I'm just testing my mic. And but you can't see me, correct?
Can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay, so I need to fix something. Okay, so let me go. Okay, bye.
All right, no problem.
Okay, I gotta fix this.
Good evening. How y'all doing?
We're doing well. How are
Miss
you,
Moses.
Pat?
How you doing, Warren?
I'm good. Can't complain. How are you?
I'm good.
And how is Miss Mia?
Muted.
I switched over to email really quickly. Sorry. Hey, Warren.
Okay.
How
Are
are
you
you?
Suki now? I'm good. I'm good.
Hi,
Can't
Warren.
complain.
How are you?
Hi,
Hello,
Suki.
Suki.
Hi, John. How are you?
Okay.
How you doing, Suki?
I'm good, Pat. How are you?
Hanging in there. What can I tell you? So we're gonna give about 3 more minutes.
Sounds good to me.
Hi, Teresa.
Hello, Esteban and Nicola. How y'all doing?
Good, thanks.
Doing well,
Good.
thank you. Thank you.
Great. So we got 1 more minute before we start. Okay, Suki, I think we're ready to start. It's like 7:05
Okay,
or 6. I don't know which one it is. 5 or 6, it don't matter.
7:05 is what I have, Pat.
Okay, so we're ready to start. And we're going to call a meeting to order. And the rules of order for Community Board 9, I ask everyone to please raise your hand if you would like to speak, and then we will respond likewise. And one of the things I like to say is no matter what anyone is saying, I would like everybody to respect one another. And that's really, really important because we're not trying to take this personally, but professionally. So we have a right to, everybody have a right to disagree and to give your opinion. Also, I want everyone, if you don't have it, and this is for committee, this is for the committee members and also the guests, if you would like to have it. Fred Baptiste put out a memorandum on September the 22nd in reference to preserving order and discipline. I would like all of the committee members to please read that and let's try and follow that. Thank you. Again, I want to welcome all committee members and guests. So we're going to start our meeting with with old business. So I'm not sure if Alicia's there. So we'll start with
Yes, I am here.
oh,
I'm sorry, but my video is not working. I apologize.
Oh, okay. So, okay, Alicia, we're gonna start with you to update for 54 Crown Street. And the court case.
Yes, we
that's
went
what happened.
to, hopefully everyone is here familiar with the case itself. We had won in the lower court underneath Judge Baines after about 2 years of litigation. We now went to the appellate court, and we had a very good showing. About 30 people showed up on our behalf, even though it was a very rainy day. They did, the way that the appellate court works is that the side who loses goes first. And so they went first, basically just bringing up new arguments that they never had before in the lower court, making the claim that I had served an attorney legal papers that was fired and was not actually the attorney of record. And I think they made some other argument, but the arguments were not very strong and they didn't speak very long. I, in return, spoke extensively about the fact that they had fudged the numbers on the application, that when they were doing the environmental review, they only had one building and about 390 residential units, but when they had applied for a building permit, they had upped that number to 580. And so as a result of fudging the numbers, they did not look at the environmental impact. I also discussed the fact that the shadow study had been done incorrectly because they had not considered the maximum height of the building, which would include what we know as the FRESH program that's situated in our community that allows developers to build even taller past the height limits. And then I talked about segmentation, and that's a term in which, you know, if you know that there's potential development projects, what you do is you separate them so you diminish their environmental impacts, whereas the law is very clear that if these are foreseeable projects, they have to be included together. And so I think I did a really wonderful job. By the time I was finished, I got a standing ovation from the audience. But however, they've asked for an expedited ruling, which means is that they're asking the justices to rule quite quickly on this because, of course, quote unquote, the affordable housing component to this. I think the judges were impressed with the presentation. I think that they were very much engaged. I think they enjoyed the fact that I was knowledgeable and knew about my subject matter and could point to the record and show them inconsistencies in the developer's position. However, you know, I can't say for sure whether or not, you know, we have won the appeal, but it did look very promising, at least from the oral arguments. That's it. So all we have to do now is just wait
Okay,
for the expedited decision. And as soon as obviously that happens, we will let you guys know.
okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, next week we have Mia. It's an update on the fall for the state deed for was it Vida? Yeah, Vida Brooklyn Kingsborough project.
Oh, yes, very quickly. I see that the board chair is here, but I believe I could just provide an update. I believe that we wanted to move the item forward as a committee action item and actually have the committee vote on a formal request to the district office to make this for a request for the deed.
Okay. Okay, great. That's it, right?
That is it. So at
So
some
we
point,
just
in the
we just
meeting,
need a vote.
for the vote for the
Okay.
item.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. An update on 1042 President Street. Esteban,
Yes, Alicia, I don't know if, is Diane here right now?
excuse me?
Is Diane Shepherd? No, so I didn't hear from her. I don't know if she got in touch with you, Alicia, but I did go, I
Yes,
did go
good
over to the
evening.
site.
I am on the phone.
Oh, you're there.
Good
Oh,
evening.
hi.
I'm
How you
sorry.
doing?
Yes. Hi. How's everyone doing tonight?
Good, good. So I went over to the
Good.
site and I tried to see if I could find anything in the building permits and in, you know, all the documentation that might be a way to you know, do something different there. And I'm having trouble finding anything that they're not doing correctly. They did get new permits. So I don't know if I don't know, Dan, did you have a chance to speak with Alicia about it?
Yes, I did, and she gave me some wonderful information with regards to the zoning and what they've done to get the zoning. I guess it was a special kind of zoning because they're doing, I think, senior housing or something to that effect. So I did speak with Alicia, and she was certainly very helpful in giving me information. So thank you so much.
There were things about the noise mitigation process that I was not sure about that we should talk about at some point, because I can't really hear it because it's on the other block. But there are rules that they're supposed to be following in terms of noise mitigation and that sort of thing. But it's really unfortunate the way they push that project through, and I think we should be paying attention to the email that Suki sent about how this is basically going to happen, you know, much more prevalently in the neighborhood if some of the new things that the administration is putting forward has passed. Not that affordable housing for seniors is not a good thing, but it skirts a lot of like the review that we're here to do. So that's not a good thing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So if it's an issue in terms of, you know, if it goes to like affordable housing, I think that needs to go over to our housing so they can also keep, you know, once it passes us, they need to keep an eye on what's going on in terms of affordable housing. Suki?
Oh, I was just gonna say, with respect to the deed for Kingsborough, did Jay send that to you, Mia? If he didn't, I can send it to you.
Oh, no, Mr. Sora contacted the district office directly. We have his information and we've been in
Okay.
contact with him. Thank you, Suki.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna move on now to new business. Suki, can you do a roll call, please? And just before
Yes.
you do the roll call, let me just say something to all of the committee members. I do keep attendance. I have no problems, putting a vote to vote you out if you don't come. So I'm just asking everybody, if you made this commitment, please try and show up. And that's it. Suki,
Okay, so here we go. Pat Moses,
here.
Warren Burke,
Here.
Suki Chung here, and Nicola Cox,
Here.
Esteban Heron,
Here,
Thomas. He's here. He's
Yeah,
not
he's
answering.
needs to unmute himself though. You gotta come back. We'll come back to his name. 'Cause he got-
Okay.
Thomas trying to unmute himself.
John Craver, he said he was going to be absent. I forwarded you his email.
Yes.
Rashida Sykes,
Okay, she's just acting.
Tom Thomas,
He's here, and I saw him
Yeah.
trying to unmute himself, so we'll
Okay.
mark him here.
all
He was
right.
trying
we'll
to unmute
mark him
himself. I don't know
here.
what's happening there. We'll come back to him when it comes.
Yeah.
See, he's going in and out. But we'll just move on. So hopefully when it's time to, Thomas.
Here. I'm
Okay.
Thank you,
yeah.
Tom.
Okay, so now we're gonna roll into well, I say it's new business because although we brought up the Citizen Budget Commission for the land use decision, it was brought up, but however, there was no real discussion on it. So I would like to have a discussion on it, and if you have anything to say in reference to that, I'm going to ask that you do raise your hand. And Mia, I might not see everybody, so you might have to help me out in terms of who wants to speak on it. But I do want to say that I did attend the meeting that they had on September 28th. It was from 8:30 to 10. It was pretty interesting. They do have a committee, I believe, of 9 to 12 people that was on the committee. And basically what they did was just discuss what the material that we have that was sent to us. And that's another thing I want to ask everybody to do. Before you give your opinion on things and you say, I don't like this, I don't like that, what you need to do is you need to read it, then say, what do you think needs to be changed, or you agree with it or you disagree with it? Because the document is really pretty thick. But what they do is they go over what we already do, and then they say this is what they want to change to. So you just can't say, oh, I don't like this. What is it that you don't like? Which part is it that you don't like? So if you haven't read it, please read it. You can either go online or you can get it from our office to read. With that being said, now listen, everybody ain't gonna talk like a long time either. You get like a few minutes to talk. So if you have anything to say in reference to it, Alicia? Well, hold on before you talk. Does anybody else want to talk? We all need to talk about it if you read the material. And all committee members, you should have read that material by now and have something to say. Go ahead, Alicia.
I sent out a detailed several emails to the community where I basically break down the requirements. There are about 13 of major changes that they want to do to the ULURP process. One of the first, I think, that this community board should be most aware of is the fact that they want to remove the community from the ULURP process. They don't want you to have hearings. They don't want you to vote on the materials. They want to put you on the back end before the ULURP process actually begins. And that's a direct, what people need to understand, that the reason why the ULURP process was even created was because the community itself was demanding a voice in rezoning projects. So now they want to basically remove the community from that process. The other most egregious act is also the fact that they want to remove the environmental process as well. They want to either eliminate any environmental review. That means is that they can build whatever they want and no one be able to question what type of environmental impact they will have, and thus there will be no chance for mitigation. That means is that the community could not negotiate, changes to the project or compensation for it. They either want to do it in the state level where they just eliminated an environmental review altogether, or they want to weaken the environmental review process through the secret process in the city by eliminating categories or streamlining. They call it streamlining. The other issue that I found really egregious was the fact that they want to eliminate any legal challenges. So they want to stop people like me from filing lawsuits against the city when they violate the environmental review process, which they want to eliminate, and which is how we won our case in the lower court. And they want to eliminate that, and they want you to go back to the city to, if you have a problem with the ULURP process, or you have a problem with their findings, or you have a problem with how they conducted themselves, you would actually go back to them to ask them to review it. Now, that's just ridiculous. I don't even understand how they put that in writing. So you got some really serious, egregious requests being made by this BLAST program. They want to create a BLAST commission, and that commission, which they've already created, will be there to implement the changes. Some of these changes will take city charter revisions. Some of these changes will take state revisions. Some of them will be done administratively. For example, normally when you have an environmental impact on a particular entity, like traffic, for example, the developer does their study and then they give it to the Department of City Planning, who then gives it to the transportation, New York City Transportation. And then New York City Transportation gets an opportunity to make comments about the proposed development. They make suggestions of changing certain things to mitigate and reduce the negative impacts on transportation. They now want to remove those other government entities, and they want to be the sole entity. The City Planning Commission wants to be the sole entity that then reviews all the environmental consequences and then decides whether or not any mitigating scenario should occur. Now, the Department of City Planning is not the experts in traffic. So the fact that they will remove the New York City Traffic Department from being able to talk about what they feel will be the best way that this development project will happen, obviously will open up a huge, enormous amount of negative consequences for us, because now you're having the entire environmental review now being done by one entity, which is the New York City Planning Commission and the New York City Planning Department, and they are not the experts in traffic, or as any other air quality, water, sewage, all these other things that we send to different departments or agencies. So these are some really serious changes to the ULURP process. And they said, the reason why is they want to streamline the ULURP process because it takes about 2.5 years. when we know how many projects actually go through the ULURP process. Most of the projects that are created in New York City are as of right projects. I mean, 90% or 95% of the development projects are as of right. So this small 5%, you know, you want to be able to do as of right as well. That's the other thing. They said that they want everything to be as of right, making any changes to the zoning unless it's in a green field or in, I believe, water is next to a body of water. So that means almost all the land. They didn't even talk about brownfields. They want to be able to build without constraint, without community opposition, without, and now we're not saying that the ULURP process is a great process. Let's be well aware that 99% of the applications that get certified by the city, the Department of City Planning and the City Planning Commission, and they go through the ULURP process, get passed into law, 99%. We were the 1% when the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens project did not go through. So they want to eliminate that 1%. They want it 100%. So I think this is a really egregious thing. I was under the impression that you guys were going to create a committee that would look more deeply into this. And I hope that that still is on the table for a committee to do a more in-depth study and come up with some suggestions to the ULURP committee, and that then could pass it on to the executive.
Okay,
That's
thank
it.
you. Thank you. Fred? Well, good evening, Fred, anyway. How you doing?
Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. Great to see everyone this evening. Yeah, very briefly, I mean, you know, just to echo some of the sentiments that have been mentioned, I think that, yeah, this is something we definitely need to keep an eye on. You know, this is being done on the guise of efficiency in terms of we want to expedite things, make it easier to do things, become a city of yes. Part of the problem is that they're recommending that we remove a lot of the checks and balances in that as well. That really kind of, you know, involve community input in terms of what's also good here. So you know, and these are some of this is my concerns in terms of all of a sudden everything is run from downtown Manhattan as opposed to the, you know, the local neighborhood actually having an input, the people who would be affected. Concerns about, okay, you know, this is also something that's current and ongoing in terms of how much is any one community, you know, required to bear in terms of the services that are provided, housing that's provided. I think that everyone should have a voice in that, and it shouldn't be a matter of you talk about it very early on, and later on you don't have an opportunity or you're not afforded the opportunity to really kind of have an input in the process. So with that being said, it's like you know, I think between that and I think, yeah, I had the opportunity to attend the City of Yes webinar that the Department of City Planning had yesterday. I did notice a number of community residents were also committee members and community residents who are present. So, you know, and it seems like this is a process that is going, at least with regards to the text amendments and the text changes. Those will be ULURP changes. So this is going to be something that directly comes to this committee. And, you know, you'll be tasked with, you know, with sifting through that in terms of understanding and hopefully offering recommendations. So it's a good thing we've got Pat for another 4 years, I guess.
I don't think so.
But you know, but definitely looking forward to, you know, we're making sure that we're asking the questions if there's information that's required. My understanding is there are supposed to be a number of activities in terms of they need to be doing the outreach and engaging communities with respect to that. And absolutely, you know, I'm confident we have a very strong committee that is up to the task in terms of asking those questions and giving us the recommendations in terms of how we move forward.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Esteban.
I just want to note, I don't know if anybody noticed, but the committee that put this together, I guess it's the Economic Development and Housing Committee for Citizen Budget Commission, is almost comical in the way that it's represented by real estate. I mean, we're talking like Brodsky's, related companies, who else we have here? Rockefeller Group. I mean, just like literally just, oh, the Durst organization, a bunch of developers decided that this is what they wanted and this is what they put forward. So I think we need to keep that in mind. I would like to recommend that we form a committee if we can do that either tonight or a subcommittee so that we can really have a position, that's well informed and I think, I think we can make a difference in the conversation here. We have been able to block projects. And so we're part of that 1% that Alicia was talking about. So I think we have some insight that would be useful for others in the city. So I'm hoping that we can do that tonight.
Okay, thank you. Suki?
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask Alicia, what does BLAST stand for? And if you have any information about the commission, like websites or whatever, that you can forward us, that would be really helpful. The second thing is, I just wanted to say that I agree that reducing the environmental review is not what I see as being helpful to us. In fact, I would have asked for additional environmental review because of the amount of as of right development that's been happening. A lot of people were complaining about it during the landmarks hearing this morning. And I feel like there should be some kind of regular environmental review, whether it's like every 2 years or 5 years or 10 years that covers as of right development. Because people, like at one of the other meetings, someone was complaining about sanitation, and the local sanitation garage said, the number of people has gone up. We still have the same number of trucks. We have to collect more garbage. What are we supposed to do? People are never get tired of complaining about the lack of parking. There's a perma double parking problem on my block. It's all these kinds of things that we like. I know that we use our capital budget process to ask for things, but it wouldn't be a bad thing to have that as part of some type of environmental review too.
Okay, thank you. Nicola?
Okay, I'm not sure I know Suki was on the call yesterday regarding the city of Yes. But that seems to be the way I position it. Is like, okay, they're casting the vision of what they want to use some of these text amendments and other initiatives that are being supported through BLAST. But they had an information session last night. I believe they're going to be holding additional information sessions, and there's a website and some email links that provide additional details on some of the initiatives. Basically, it's in 3 categories: one focused on environmental changes, one focused on business zoning for business opportunity, zoning for I think it's zero environmental neutrality. I don't have the thing in front of me, and one for housing, zoning for housing opportunities. And looking at the deck, I participated in the meeting last night, and it seems to be high-level vision. They want to, for example, expand the definition of the categories of affordable units that would fall under the ZQA program. They didn't call it that, but that's basically what they're trying to do. So right now, the ZQA, which allows additional buildable space if you include a certain percentage of senior housing, that's the project that we have at 1 Sullivan Place. That's why they were able to go higher. Even though that's a 6A, they were able to add additional height to that building because of that process. Now they want to expand the category to include supportive housing and other categories. And then there are a number of other issues that fall under that, and converting existing commercial space into residential space, a few other items related to housing. So if we are going to form a committee related to BLAST, I think it also has to look at what's being proposed under the city of Yes, because that seems to be, again, the vision that BLAST will then be the details of how they will implement some of these changes. But they're very broad-based changes that will affect the entire city.
What does BLAST stand for?
Give me a minute, I'll look it up. I'll find the email.
But the big thing about BLAST is it's supposed to be an administrative way of trying to create shortcuts administratively. So instead of going to
Right.
5 offices, this is all just, oh no, we push this right through, so you get it done faster.
Right, so it's a how, because there's a lot of changes that they are pushing through they want to do it very quickly. They don't have a lot of detail. They, on the one hand, they're saying that they want to, under housing affordability, they want to remove some of the parking space requirements so that they can build additional housing. But then under zoning for, environmental protection or zero neutrality, they want to add additional parking spaces for the electric cars that need charging stations. So okay, so one hand doesn't know what the other is doing. So it's a lot of detail that to me hasn't been worked out yet. It's, again, another wish list, another big cast vision, but they also seem to be trying to move this very quickly. And I don't think that I know they don't have the details, because when we tried to ask questions, they couldn't give us answers yet.
Okay, thank you. John?
Yes, thank you. So I don't know. I know Suki. Suki's my neighbor to the back. I am an architect who does a lot of affordable housing, and it's actually been really fascinating to hear this discussion tonight so far. As a group, you are very well informed. Housing policy is a really complicated issue. But I would like to, if it's welcome, I'd like to offer my expertise to this group as you evaluate land use issues, housing issues. I have to say, and I come from a perspective where I think building more affordable housing is a good thing. That we're in an affordable housing crisis, and this is something that we all need to be focused on, and that every community within our city needs to be doing our part. I don't know if anyone was following the Throgs Neck ULURP that happened recently. There's 2 sides to every story, but anyway, if my opinion and my expertise is welcome on this committee, then I offer it.
And we accept it also.
Okay, great.
I'm accepted for the whole group.
Okay, well, I thank you for that. But okay, great.
Okay, any input, we definitely welcome any input and any thoughts.
Okay.
Fred, do you have anything you want to say? Your hand is still up.
Yeah. First of all, just Madam Chair has spoken. I think absolutely. I mean, that kind of knowledge and insight into that is definitely going to be helpful for the committee and for the board to really understand what's going on and be able to give meaningful input into that. And I think that going to some of the things that Nicola was talking about, I think yes, we definitely want to make sure that we have a good understanding of this. My take on yesterday was it was a very high level conversation. And just because I'm always suspicious, it's like, it sounds like they're starting off with the laudable things, because who doesn't want carbon neutrality? Who's against affordable housing? Who doesn't like to have jobs and economic opportunities? And who doesn't like to, but the devil's going to be in the details. And so there is going to be the work in terms of, as a committee and as a board, as a community, deconstructing all these things to see where the challenges are going to be, and where those things that aren't so favorable are identified, and we need to have those conversations about how do we do this. I don't want to have the knee-jerk response of saying it's all bad, but at the same time, I don't believe it's all good either, and we just want to make sure that as a community we're informed and able to weigh in as appropriately.
I think your nuanced take on this is absolutely right. It's not all good. It's not all bad. It's somewhere in between.
Before I call on you, Thomas, I just want to say one thing to the group. When you're talking about, the reason I say everybody needs to read the material is because in order for you to say what you want change or not change, or what you agree to and what you don't agree to, you have to know what they're first saying. You can't let the elected officials slide. And it seems that, you know, like when we talk about our board, but where we have to know where the elected officials are in this. Especially you talk about city council, we have to know where they are. And we also have to know where our state representatives are. They don't get a slide either, because when they're talking about changing things, if you're talking about changing state laws, there's a vote on that. If you talk about changing the city charter, there's a vote on that. So it's not as easy where they can just come on in and do stuff. And if you're elected, if we don't know where our elected officials are, we're an advisory group. So we need to, if whatever we feel or don't feel, we need to put pressure on them too. They cannot just slide right on through. And that's what's been happening. And that I have to know, do we have their support on this or that? And the reason that I say to this group, you don't just go out and say everything as a whole. We need to take it apart. Let's go 1 through 10. That's what I call a committee. I'll break this down. What are they saying for? What are they saying against? Okay, so if we had to settle, what would we settle for? What do we want? And that's my view on what needs to be done. Thomas, you got the floor, Thomas.
Thank you. On the City of Yes presentation, I had 2 reactions. One, the limitations of on reasonable changes. For instance, a single family home wanting to upgrade to 2 families within a 2-family zone seemed reasonable, as did many of the reductions of restrictions. The one area in which I was very concerned was that the impacts of the changes that were proposed were not at all described in their impact on infrastructure. All the way from parking to schools, hospitals, water supply systems were not even mentioned. And I would come down rather hard on providing proof for what the proposed changes have as impacts.
Okay, before we move on, is there anyone else?
Can I ask something real quick?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, a question for, how do you say your last name? Wolfling? Wolfling, okay. So you're Datner Architects, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Good sleuthing.
Yeah. So is your firm doing any of the design for the Kingsbrook Medical Center?
No. Oh,
No?
sorry, Kingsbrook Jewish Medical Center?
Yes.
Or
Well,
yeah. So there's the Kingsborough project that was just mentioned earlier in the call. There is the Kingsbrook Jewish Medical Center project that was a Vital Brooklyn initiative that was issued through HCR, the state housing agency. Yes, we are working on that project. It is, as of right, you all sound like you're very familiar with that term. We are not doing, there's a project that's further up the block on Rutland that's, I think, proposing to do an R7X. That is a very large rezoning. We are not doing anything like that. We are keeping within the contextual district limits, keeping within the FAR limits. And I think doing the whole project is going to be affordable. There's going to be a PACE center in the ground floor of it. So anyway, that's a very good example of the work that we do.
Yeah, no, so that's good. I think it's also like, if there are things that we discuss here that that either you or your firm have like direct experience with, then we would definitely like to hear that. Okay. And then,
there may be situations where I have to recuse myself.
Right.
For whatever reason.
That was the other thing I was gonna say. So that, if there's things that we're discussing here, then that would be the only time where I would say, maybe not the best time to
and I may be asked appropriately to sign off and not be part of the conversation if that's.
Oh,
if-
yeah,
if
we're
there's
gonna have to do that.
And then just so that you have an idea, because I know that you said you were interested in some of the things that were said before, we have a very interesting, I guess, we have a very interesting way that we've done land use here in the past few years, and we don't really take well to like the all or nothing, like the idea that like we're not pro housing somehow, or like, you know, that's not the case. Like we have a lot of tenants in this neighborhood, and we have a very nuanced look, you know, approach to the way that we think that development should be, and it's been developed over the course of a decade. And so I'm going to be interested to see how that plays out with this new stuff that's happening at the administrative level. But yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that, and yeah.
Okay, we're gonna take Suki, and then we're gonna close out on this issue here.
That's okay. So I just wanted to remind everyone again, as Nicola mentioned, that there is another information session on City of Yes for those of you who missed it on October 27th. We'll send it to Mia so she can send it out to the whole board. And I think it would be a good idea at some point, either before that or maybe just after that. I think our general board meeting will be just after that, to hold a public hearing on this issue like we did for the Citizens Budget Commission. Because this is really something that potentially affects our entire district. Our entire district is R5 through R8 zoning, with the exception of Lefferts Manor, which is where John and I live. So this is really something the public needs to know about.
Okay. Alicia, then I have to close this subject out now.
I'm a little confused because at one point we started off this conversation, we're talking about the
City Budget Commission.
Right, and now we ended up with the text amendments that are being proposed. So I'm a little confused about
well,
that.
the text amendments are proposals from the City Planning Commission.
Suki, I'm not confused about that. I'm confused about how this is, how you're combining the two subjects. Thank you.
Okay. I was going to ask the same thing. Is it one of the same, or okay? This because I'm
no. These are two. This is one of the administrative processing that they talked about with regards to changing, you know, zoning, and this is an administrative process that they're trying to do. So let's just be clear. But this is what's right now on the table, and this becomes the first, you know, wave to see how well they are able to do it. So then they can come up with the higher things. However, I think before you have a hearing on this issue, I think that this committee needs to do a little bit more work and needs to come up with their own recommendations, and they need to present it to the community so the community is aware. You guys are supposed to be the experts. So what do you have to say first before you open it up to a hearing to the community? First, let's hear what you have to say, and have you look at the document, you come up with recommendations, you come up with an analysis of what you believe are good things or bad things. Let that be presented to the community, and then ask the community for their input, because a lot of people are not familiar with these subject matters. A lot of people don't even know that this is on the table. So I think it's a little bit rushed to talk about a hearing when the committee, have not done, you know, your due diligence in being able to at least present a document to the community and says, we looked at these, the text amendments, if we're going to focus on the text amendments, and this is our recommendations, because that's the first thing that's coming out of the commission work.
Okay, I need to move on. Suki, you want to say something and close out before I move on? Because I just want to.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Alicia that it would be good for the committee to discuss it. So I know that a number of us, including, I don't know if Alicia was there, but I know Teresa was there last night. And so are people on the commit who are on the committee ready to discuss it?
I'm not ready to discuss anything because at this point, I was dealing with the, I thought we were still with the same thing. I was dealing with the Citizen Budget Commission. So I wanted to know, is it a part of that? Or are we talking
It
about
is not.
something entirely
It's two different
Okay,
things.
so then that's why if I had known that I would, because we were all over the place. And I'd like to, so there's two separate issues here then.
Well,
Am I
if I
correct?
could,
Yeah, because I'm
Madam
getting
Chair, if
all
I could,
confused now.
I think the reason why that came up is because I think that, I think the CBC report is a white paper. That's an industry white paper in terms of what they believe is the best way for us to get housing in the way we need to, and they introduce a lot of the concepts. I think the City of Yes initiative is the actual implementation that the city's starting to propose in terms of how they go down that route. So I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of the stuff from that CBC recommendation end up being in that City of Yes conversation, which is kind of the reason why we started talking about them both in that context, because that's the official process the city's going to go through. CBC is an independent organization. It's scary what they're saying, but now this is the city talking. And there'll probably be a lot of talking points that'll come from one into that other part.
Okay, so if what you're saying, it is still part of the same, it's just broken down. If you're saying the City of Yes, it's breaking down, so what the city's talking. The state is not saying anything yet.
No, it's really not. It's really not the same. I mean, the City of Yes is talking about zoning. The CBC recommendations, we're talking about the ULURP process and the environmental review process, which plays a role in zoning, but City of Yes is talking about specifically amending certain types of zoning.
Okay.
Right, and to me, the CBC recommendations, that's how you get the text amendments and other changes that City of Yes is trying to implement. That's how the city is going to be able to break down some of the barriers, administrative barriers, roadblocks that they see in terms of the way the city has historically functioned, zoning regulations, other gaps and roadblocks. That's how they plan on blasting through. And I'll still try and look up the term, what that means. It was something that Eric Adams was using to describe this program that CBC had recommended. But so that's why I think that they're interconnected, but we need to, as Suki said, and Fred, City of Yes is the proposal that the city is now moving forward with.
Okay.
The concepts, I think, as they don't know, that's why it's difficult to have. We can start introducing the topic, but they don't have a lot of meat behind the PowerPoints that we saw in terms of what was introduced in the meeting yesterday. There's not a lot of detail. They're still fleshing it out. Now, if we want to come up as a committee with some of our concerns or what we like, what we don't like, and again, provide that feedback to that group. I think that seemed to be what they're looking for. They gave us an email. If we have any other questions, concerns, email it to them. I think as they're starting to flesh this out, if we're seeing inconsistencies, if we see issues, then we could present it to them and try and keep the conversation going forward.
Okay, I do have to move on, and from what I will attend I will make an effort to attend the October 27th, the City of Yes. Sometimes, you can look at two things at once. You don't have to put one thing over here and at the end of the day, they're all going to come together, because if someone is proposing a change, the city council, whatever, they're going to be talking about this, and then the state is going to be talking about that. So it's all a part of. Now, one of the questions I wanted to ask, when y'all talk about a committee to do what? Because we are the committee, and I don't understand when you say we need to have a separate committee to do what? When we are the committee and we can break down different tasks to different people. No, I'm talking right now, I'm talking specifically to the committee right now.
It would be a subcommittee. Well, it's normal for committees to have subcommittees who would actually go step by step and have a longer discussion. Our time is pretty limited here, Pat. And so you would have a subcommittee and they could be, you know, any member of this committee, but they would actually go through the document and break it down and have a fuller and more in-depth conversation. The committee can meet once a week, so it could be a more productive committee. So you'll spend more time going through it so that they can then come up with the recommendations, and then they bring it back to this committee, this full committee, have further discussions on it. But subcommittees are normally very useful, especially when we're talking about highly dense and complicated and documents that need to be.
Let me just say, I don't have a problem with subcommittees. What I do have a problem is, you know, the subcommittees bring it back to us. We in turn still have to bring it to the board. So we don't,
Exactly.
you know, and that's how that works. And I like, if you're going to deal with the subcommittee, I like people to look at it on both sides. I don't like, no. Because at the end of the day, let's just say it has to come forward, and then what is it that we want? What is it that the community wants? You know, because you have to be able to look at it on both, because you know, there's votes that's going to take place. And you're elected officials, so you can't just say no. Not saying anybody's doing that. I'm just saying that if you have a subcommittee and you say to us, okay, we're working on 1 to 10, whatever that is, then y'all report back and say whatever it is that you're looking at and what your research was, and you bring it to us. Because if we're talking about time, then we're going to have to move if that's what you're speaking of. But I don't want it to be one-sided. I can't do one-sided. And I also would like to have, if you're talking about a committee, I would like to see like someone from housing. I would like to see someone from environmental, because environmental is like at the top. If you really looked at it, read that material. So if you're talking about that, you want to have somebody from the environmental committee, hopefully somebody from housing. And it could be like, it could be a resident. It doesn't have to be like anybody on the board. But I like to see something where we have involvement like that. And if you want a committee, how many people are y'all speaking of? We can't have 100. So how many people? Somebody say something now. How many people?
How many people are normally on a subcommittee for this committee?
It
I
doesn't
don't
matter.
remember.
We want people that's on there that's going to do some work and come back and make it nice and short, you know, and bring the materials back.
Pat,
We
Pat,
had-
can
we
I
had
make
a-
a comment?
How many people are y'all speaking of?
Pat, can I make a comment?
Sure.
So I agree with Pat that we need involvement from other committees if we want to look at the whole proposal. Part of it is economic development, part of it is environment, part of it is housing, and obviously everything has to do with zoning. And ULURP is really not a very big committee. I think we have like maybe 4 full board members, including Fred, and like another 3 or 4 community resident members. So my suggestion would be that if you guys want to meet more often than once a month, that's good. But you know, let's make it a thing like whoever doesn't want to meet just doesn't have to come. They're not mandatory meetings. So like Warren is here, he's part of economic development. We don't have someone from housing. We should involve somebody from housing. But I think basically it should be our committee. And if you can't make it to those subcommittee meetings, then you can't make it. Whoever shows up, shows up.
No, the committee can't be the committee and the subcommittee at the same time. Now, y'all either we all gonna just do it all together, or we're gonna have a sub.
I
A
mean,
sub
I would be
means
in,
an independent group that comes back to us that we talk about.
I would be in favor of us doing it all together, because we're all
Okay.
going to have to vote on it. And if we all want to feel comfortable voting on it, I think we should all look at it. But if there are people who can't make it more often, then, you know, we can't require them to come. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay.
Because we're really not a big committee. I mean, I can recall times when the ULURP committee had 20 members on it, and we're now much, much smaller.
Yeah, but Suki, a subcommittee has absolutely nothing to do with our committee. The subcommittee meets, you can have a subcommittee of a whole different group of people who bring the information back to us, ULURP committee. That's what the sub is. They're the sub. So they're
So
actually doing it.
So Fred, what is your advice on the procedure if we want the whole committee to do it?
Fred is not moving this meeting, I am. So.
Okay, so
point
if
is-
we want that,
No,
we want
just say your point. And then
Okay.
we're gonna vote on it as a whole. Everybody's gonna say what they want or don't want, okay?
So here's my question with respect to procedure. If we want essentially the whole committee to meet, but more often than our regular monthly
It's
meetings.
not gonna
we call-
happen. It's not gonna happen with me chairing. Now, that's what the subcommittee is for, because they be outside. So.
Okay,
it's
so
not gonna happen.
so can I ask then for a show of hands of anyone who would want to be on the subcommittee to meet
No,
outside
because
of the regular?
you can't, because you're not the chair, number one. And number two, I need to bring it to the committee members to, if in fact they want a subcommittee. So.
Okay, so how
So
about
the answer to you is no, we cannot do that. I'm gonna run this meeting at this point.
okay,
Thank
so
you.
can I make a resolution then?
In a minute, you can. In a minute. So anybody else want to say anything in reference how they see the subcommittee looking? Alicia, you brought it up. What are you looking at in terms of?
The last time that this committee had a subcommittee, it was based on volunteers, how many people just wanted to join the committee. And it normally was a smaller set of people than the larger committee. Normally that's how it works. That's why it's called a subcommittee. And those 3 or 4 people, 5 or 6 people make a commitment to meet on a weekly basis or a bi-monthly basis, depending upon the committee. And they basically run the show. They choose their chairperson of the subcommittee. They decide when they want to meet. But remember, all of these committees are open to the public. They are subcommittees of the community board, so they cannot be held behind closed doors. And so the public is also welcome to come and participate and also share their expertise. So I suggest that you just open it up and find out if this committee wants to do a subcommittee, and then just show of hands who would like to be a part of that subcommittee. And that's exactly how it was run the last time.
Nicola?
And it was successful.
I'm sorry. You finished, Nicola?
Yeah, I was going to add the fact, I know you talked about having involvement from housing, economic, environmental. To me, those would be subcommittees for those committees. And they would focus on specific items related to housing, related to environmental protection. We focus on the issues related to the ULURP process and zoning. So I just want to make sure that we don't start to eke into the responsibilities of other committees. And as we've mentioned, it's going to be a small number of people. So we need to make sure that we're keeping, our focus tight so that we can get a successful output.
Okay. Fred?
Along those lines, I mean, one of the things that I want to be very careful of is in terms of making sure we have a scope of what's trying to be done. Because to say we're going to form a subcommittee, but it's really kind of not even, I think there's just a lot of questions that we're not clear on. So even if it's a matter of people want to discuss that and come up with a framework in terms of what the next steps are and what needs to get done, at least that way everybody understands what the marching orders and what things need to get done. As well as I wouldn't want to say we'd have to speak out of turn for other committees, because on the one hand, yeah, they'll probably have an interest, but they may not be ready for that at this point either. So my suggestion is probably just, even if members of the committee scope it out, kind of put a framework together that everyone can vote on, so that way everybody has the information, they can figure out what the best way is to proceed from there. But this is something that absolutely is the board. It's not going away. And we don't necessarily need to decide tomorrow. I think there are opportunities for us to get moving. But let's do it smartly and intelligently as well, and make sure that we're utilizing the resources appropriately.
True. And the first thing I'd like everybody to do is start doing their homework, so that when you speak, you can speak on what you've read and the different meetings that you've attended. Okay, so where is I don't think I can see everybody. Nicola, you already spoke, right? So we can move on and we're gonna close this session out, this part out. We will do a vote. Or we could either do a vote to to move forward with the subcommittee, or should we just wait? And I don't know if we have all of our members here now. Let me see if we have do we have one? Can you see them? I can't see everybody, Mia. Do we have I don't know how many members they have now. They were here.
I think we have quorum.
I'm looking. Stuckey, do we have a quorum?
Okay, let's see. 2, 3,
Hey, it's Warren. Why don't we just do a roll call vote?
Okay, we could do that. So somebody.
Yes, we do.
We do, great.
We're
So-
just missing Rashida and John.
So we're
We
missing
should
two
have
people.
quorum.
We should still do a roll call vote.
Okay, put the motion on the floor, Lynn Warren, since you suggested it.
To make a roll call vote,
No. What we doing a roll call vote on?
first of all, just to establish if we have enough people, and then we can move on from there if we want to take a vote on.
Yeah, we do
anything
have
else.
enough. We have enough people. We're only missing 2 people.
Okay,
Okay. So, does anyone want to put a motion on the floor? In reference to the subcommittee?
I can put a motion on the floor.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Somebody want to help me synthesize this the right
Make it-
way?
Make it like a short sentence though, no more than 2.
Just to be clear, we're doing a committee on which of the 2 things that we were talking about tonight?
No, they want to know
Both.
whether we're going to go forward now or we're going to wait to get information in reference to form the committee. Which one are we going to do?
Oh. Okay, wait, then maybe I'm not clear on what's happening.
And that's what I'm concerned about. I think it's okay for us to say, well, it's okay for the committee to say, you know what, take the month, kind of synthesize what the next step should be and what a subcommittee would be doing. So I think it's good for us to do that. And you know, you'll probably get more information in that interim, which will inform what the work is going to be at that point. At least
Okay.
that's my humble suggestion.
Right. I got a better idea. Before we bring, unless you want to bring it to the floor, let's put this in our heads and see what we're looking at. I mean, what type of subcommittee are we looking at? And then in the next meeting, you could bring forward to how you like to see it, or should we wait, or whatever? Would where people agree to that? 'Cause we
Yes.
don't really know. Yes. So you understand what I'm saying? Because this is how I look at it. I think that all of us basically have homework to do, including myself. Because you see, I got all mixed up this evening. So I think that let's give it some thought, and maybe Nicola, Esteban, all y'all could let us know how would you like to see this committee? What do we want to do?
What kind of a time constraint are we looking at? Like I know that the Citizens Budget Commission is more like a high level white paper sort of thing, but in terms of the actual zoning text amendments, how quickly is that stuff coming like to make decisions about? Is that like preliminary, or are we like talking about something that's on a time crunch? Because I remember last year when they did when they tried to do the citywide plan, it happened really quickly in a matter of a month, like they'd already had a hearing. So
This is what I like to see done. I like to see people do some homework. In other words, if I turn around and I read, because it's like, I think it's like, how many pages is that thing? 47 pages? I mean, if I took the first page or 2 pages, I could read and I could talk about it. So my point is that in order for us to do that, we have to know what we're looking at. So I would like everybody to move on and let's just do this homework. And then when we come back, when we come back together, let's see if we want to, if we are going to just press on, because we can divide ourselves into subjects. You know, I could take something, you could take something, like I'm going to go to a meeting. And I would say that meeting on the 27th or October 27th, maybe Esteban couldn't make it, or maybe Nicola can make it, but I will make it and I will bring it back to the committee. So that's how I'm looking at it. So should we table this until next meeting? And then we
Could
can.
we-
Hi, this is Warren. I
Mhm.
think I make a motion to table this to next meeting, per your concerns.
Can I get a second?
I have a
Okay, good.
suggestion, maybe.
Yes,
I feel like there's like something in between where we are now and where we need to be in a month.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
could we possibly do some communication either via email or some other way so that we're actually well-informed and ready to like make the motion in the next meeting?
yeah, because we're
I don't
not
wanna
ready
show
now.
up-
I would like to
Yeah.
table it.
And I don't want to show up at the next meeting and be exactly where we are right now. So like
True.
we can sort of decide on a way that we're going to communicate these things, and that way we come back better prepared.
Esteban, it's Warren. I agree completely. And the motion is on the table.
So all in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, point of order.
We need a
Point of order.
second.
There was no
Point of
second.
order, I'll get mixed up with this, okay. Discussion? Go ahead, all right.
Yeah, I just to the point that Esteban had said previously, I think that, you know, in terms of time frame, if I understood correctly from yesterday, DCP has said they have not put pen to paper on this yet. So these are high-level conversations they're having, but the process has not started yet. So to your point, we don't have to have it tomorrow, but I wouldn't say we wait like 6 months. Like, you know, we have 6 or 7 months on this. So I think that we're in a good place where if you want, yeah, you're in a good place. If you table this, make this part of the agenda for next month. You know, everyone can think about this and really kind of think about what the questions are, what work needs to be done on a subcommittee level if necessary.
Okay. Okay. Do we have a motion, do we have a motion on the floor, Warren?
Yes, we need a second.
Can I get a second to table it? Esteban,
I'll second it.
what you seconding? No, I'm all mixed up.
Nicola.
Nicola.
I was
second.
muted. I was muted.
Okay.
Sorry.
Warren, say the motion again so that Suki can get it, because we all mixed up now. Warren,
The motion about forming a subcommittee until this is November's meeting.
until what?
November's meeting.
Okay, November's meeting. And Nicholas seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
I
Aye.
Any abstained? Any noes? The ayes have it. Okay. So we got a few more minutes. I'd like to, before I go into community residents' concerns, which we're going to talk about in a minute, because the community may have some other issues. Our next meeting date is on election day. So we're not going to be meeting on election day, but I wanted to put a motion to change our meeting date either to the first Tuesday in November, or we just skip November's meeting and just come back in December. I don't know which one anybody wants.
Is there a
Warren?
reason we can't meet in November on election day? Is someone working the polls?
There may be people that are working
The board
polls,
office
yeah.
and staff is off that day.
Right, and they're closed. So
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Um,
I
I
don't,
think we should choose another day.
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
have
it's
a,
Warren, just
Yes,
based
Warren.
on what we just passed, We need to meet.
Mhm.
Okay, so can I get a motion to meet maybe the first Tuesday in November at 7 o'clock?
I make a
That's only
motion that we meet.
Hold on one second, guys. I don't think that the first Tuesday is available because we've done some shuffling already. Would it be possible for you guys to move back one night to the 7th?
Yes.
Well, I'll be out of town,
Yes.
so Warren, you'd have to hold that meeting. I won't be here.
No, if you're not, no, you need to be
You
here
need
for
to
that
be
meeting. You need to be here for that meeting. So what's your schedule?
Okay,
Hold on one
she's saying,
second.
she said November 7th.
I have a suggestion. We're having a
Wait a
very
minute,
complicated
hold on.
time.
Wait a minute, I might be able to do that now. That's on a Monday, right?
Yes,
Yes.
Oh, I could, okay. I think I can do the 7th.
perfect. Thank you.
Just want to make sure, just give me a second. Let me see. Yes, I can do the 7th.
Okay, do we need to make a motion or can we just? set it
No,
for
now
the
we
7th?
don't. We could just, no, we don't now. We can meet on November 7th because everybody said we don't want to wait. So November 7th.
Are there any conflicts with members of the board? Okay.
Nicola, you got your hand up. There's a
November 7th it is.
conflict?
No, I have another comment.
Oh, okay. So then, we're going to meet on November 7th. That's a Monday. Okay, at 7 p.m.
Correct.
Now we're going to go into, we're gonna go to Nicola and then we're gonna go into community residents' concerns.
Okay, just wanted to give Suki her update. She asked for the definition. What did BLAST stand for? It's Building Land Use Approval Streamlining Task Force.
Okay,
Whoa.
so that
So that says it all.
that sounds like something that's related to the buildings department.
No.
No,
I
it's
disagree.
everything. This is the CBC's recommendation. It's that, and another term for it was BLAST. It's in their report.
Yeah, Suki, I think this whole thing is a move on changing the ULURP process. So I think that's what we should really focus on in terms of maintaining the community board's participation at its present level. And I think that's really our concern.
True. So on October 27th, for all of the committee members that can attend, what time is it anyway? Is it early in the morning or late at night? On October 27th.
Oh, I think those
The
hearings are in the
last
evening.
session was at 7 p.m., so it's probably going to be in the evening, but you can check the city planning website and hopefully they'll be posting an update.
So Mia, you can, when you find out what the time is, can you send it out to all of us? And also, I would also, if we could have some, I don't know if we can post it like through community board non-information, because I would also like some community residents to attend too, if they can, just to keep an update of what's going on in the community. Thomas?
You're referring to the New York City Open Data session on the 27th?
27th, whatever that is.
It's at 6:30.
6:30. Okay.
No, Tom, this is the City of Yes information session with the Department of City Planning.
Okay, well, yeah, you'll get us the information out. Thank you. Community residents concern, can you raise your hand if you have any? Bring something new to us. Let us know what's going on in your neighborhood. Anything you're happy about? Mia, can you keep up with the people for me? Okay. Nicola, you're not in this, right? Your hand is still up. Okay.
Yeah, I believe there's some technical issues with the audio.
Okay,
Person is unmuted.
okay. Lawrence Hall, is that person?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and
I'm Lawrence Hall. I live on 282 Sullivan Place in Brooklyn between Nostrand and Rogers. And I have a few concerns that I'd like to voice because I think we're being overrun by these developments in our area. And the problems I'm having is they're buying out these houses at exorbitant prices. And it's a certain sect of people coming from another section of Brooklyn buying out these houses. A 2-family house is now going to be converted into a 7-story building with 32 families. We don't have the infrastructure for this. You know, no one has ever asked our opinion of what we think. Is this doable? Prior to that, last year, we had a supermarket across the street from us that was torn down and the property was sold to make huge apartment building over there with I think 100 and something apartments or something like that. And there's no infrastructure for this. We're now in a food desert. They've taken away the one supermarket in my area. So I want to know, how do I go about changing some of these problems that we're having here? Because I find that it seems like no one's accountable for this kind of stuff. It just happens to us. You know, for instance, another thing that I have mentioned to the community board, because I spoke with, is it Mia? I've been speaking with her for quite a few months now regarding the parking situation and alternate side parking. And I was told that the community board was the one responsible for changing the rules, whether or not you have 4 times a week cleaning or 2 times a week cleaning. And now I'm told that's not the case. That the Department of Sanitation sets those guidelines. So I'm a little confused on how to go about some of these issues that I see happening in this block particular.
okay.
Hey, it's Warren. I have a question. What do you mean by a particular sect? Could you define that for us?
Well, the problem is I find that a lot of Hasidim are buying into these places and tearing down a 2-family house and putting up these large apartment buildings in that stead, right? And we have no infrastructure for this. We don't have the parking for this. And who is giving up authority for this to be done? Turning a 2-family house into a 32-family apartment building.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted that for the record. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Alicia Boyd Lawrence, and I am not a committee member. I'm just a community resident. And I understand your frustration that you're having. Unfortunately, there's something what you call as of right. And that's a term that's used where you get to look at your property and you can build according to what the zoning, the existing zoning is. And unfortunately, most of your zoning determines how much you can build. And so in this regard, once you buy a property that's quote unquote as of right, you can build whatever you are
whatever
able
you
to
want
build underneath the zoning. Underneath the zoning caps it. The zoning tells you exactly how much. So some zoning will allow you to do 7 stories, even if you have an existing 2-family or 2-story a building, and that's what's called zoning. However, Lawrence, I can tell you that other communities are facing much dire consequences, and this may not be a benefit to you, but right now we're looking at proposals where they can build 30 stories or 50 stories and not do infrastructure changes. So we are in a very pro-development era where we have a mayor who's very pro-development, who's not looking at infrastructure at all. So they're not going to look at 7 stories. They're not even looking at 50 stories at this point. And so I understand your frustration, but when it comes to as of right, there's nothing that the community or anyone can do because it's what they are entitled to do legally. So just like if you have a house and you decide you wanted to destroy it and you wanted to build up to the maximum, what we call, FAR, which might be 7 stories, you can do that. and no one has the power or the authority to stop you. And that's what's happening, Mr.
And so
Lawrence.
how do we go about changing the zoning?
Who's talking to, who's saying this?
Lawrence Hall.
Okay,
Can I just respond one more time?
yeah, well, we gotta move on because
Chairperson.
that's an issue where.
Lawrence, I
Before
can
you
tell
move
you.
on,
this-
Alicia, let me just say something also. You have to really study and look at what the zonings are in different areas. And also, you also don't need to leave your elected officials out. I don't know why everybody keeps leaving them out. You can't do that. You have to talk to your representatives in your community. But zoning, if you can go online and you could look and see, like we talk about your area, you can see like how high up they can build, how wide, things like that. So you really have to look and see what's going on there. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
but
ask, listen,
But
I gotta move
understand.
on. Huh?
Let me just respond to his one question. I understand, yes, there is a possibility the zoning can be changed. However, for the past 8 years and now with this new administration, they are not what we call down zoning. They're not reducing billable space. No one's doing it. They're not going to allow you to do it. The city has to approve a rezoning application and they are not doing it. Your neighbor Fenimore has been trying to get that application done for the last 4 years and they've been unsuccessful. The city has made it very clear that they're not going to do any down zoning, that any zoning that's going to happen is going to go up. So instead of 7 stories, you can have 30 stories, but they're not going down.
Okay,
And that's all I have to say.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off, but I really gotta move on. So everybody just like,
Pat, since Alicia spoke twice, can I speak quickly?
yeah, but
Lawrence,
hold on a
I'd
second.
be,
Whoa, hold on a second. Right now I'm doing a community residence. And I'm gonna go to Jay and then you can have something to say. I need to deal with the community residents and hear what their concerns are. Go ahead, Jay.
Hi, can you hear me, Pat?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, just to speak to Lawrence's issue, just to say it doesn't matter who's moving into the community, whether they're Hasidic or whether they're Black. So the comment that a certain sect is moving in, anybody could live wherever they want. Point number
It's
one.
not that they're moving in. That's not the issue. They're not moving in. They're
Okay,
building these apartments and they're unaffordable.
Excuse me.
Right.
We do raise that, excuse me, wait a minute, hold on a second. We don't do cross section of back and forth like that. Jay is gonna say his point and then we're gonna move on.
Right. So I just wanted to first comment on that. The second was my concern for senior citizens. There is a project that was before the ULURP committee before. This is 777 Rutland Road. I believe it was First Baptist Church, which was looking to do a ULURP change and also a deed restriction removal. There's a document that shows that this community board in 2017, there's a DCAS process that's going on. And I wanted to know whether or not the community board, which is currently on notice, is aware of the various steps, the various stages, and whether they're going to inform the community, where is it in the DCAS removal of the residential restriction, because it's currently R6. And even if they don't get the ULURP to upzone higher, this allowing it to go to residential is going to allow there to be part of their project is to bring in 30 homeless individuals. And that opens up the individual of oversaturation of social services, which a lot of people in that section have an interest in, which I do. And across the street, the Vital Brooklyn project has 89 frail seniors. So you've got senior citizens that are across the street in the project devoted to them, 89 of them. And then across the street, you're going to put even more homeless. And there's also a daycare center also across the street, and it's adjacent to a playing field as well. So there's a lot of different issues. Some people may be for it, against it. But there was a disclosure back in I think February of 2017. And I think there's an obligation of the community board and the ULURP committee to say what their opinion is. Because if you say nothing, then the deed restriction is going to be removed and then they can build it. And people don't understand that it's not just the ULURP, It's the DCAS thing, which is currently going on. So I'd be curious as to what's the status and if that could be posted publicly.
Okay, we'll take that into consideration. Let me just say something. If I'm not mistaken, 77 Rutland Road, it seems like we had a presentation. I believe we had a presentation on that, and they brought forward to the committee, and that was a couple of years ago, I believe.
No, two
I
months,
kind of remember it.
2 months ago, I think.
No, it wasn't 2 months ago. They brought it in this committee. Was it this year? It was either last year or the year before, because they actually brought their materials to us, and then we listened to their.
Yes, but we also talked about it, I think 2 or 3 months ago. I'm not sure if it was housing or ULURP.
Wasn't ULURP.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then it was housing, but ULURP should be involved with it because,
We're aware of the program.
okay, if you could post it then, post it
No,
publicly. what the
I don't
status
have
is.
that. I don't have authorization to post stuff. I
So-
don't know exactly what you're talking about to post. So if you have an issue, I'm going to say that at this point, you can send it into the district office and let them take a look at it, because I don't really know what you're talking about posting.
The letter that was sent to the community board that said what's going to occur in February of 2017. It's a matter of public record on DCAS. If you take a look at what's going on in Community Board 9, it'll show that there's an active application to remove the residential. It's basically restricted right now to community facility. So
Okay.
they're looking for community input. And
Okay,
then they specifically
like I
talk
said,
about community.
they came forward to us, and I remember the presentation, but we have to take a look into it. So I would say
Okay.
send your
Okay.
information into the office, and then anything else, I will take a look at it and I will read it, because
Okay, great.
I do know that there was a presentation. I just don't remember exactly what year. Okay, we're going to move on. We have to take a vote, which I forgot. I think there was supposed to be a vote for the deed. I have to get a motion on the floor for the community, for our Community Board 9 office to request the state deed for Vital Brooklyn Kingsborough project. Warren, can you put that motion on the floor for me, please? Warren, are you there? Can anyone else put it on the floor for me?
Point of order. Point of order. I believe, Jay, did you send the deed to?
No, I don't want that.
Hey, it's Warren.
Excuse me, Warren, I just need you to put it on the floor at the
I
beginning.
am. I had to
Okay.
unmute myself.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You know, I'm getting old here. But anyway, I put a motion on the floor that the committee, the ULURP committee request from the state the deed to the One Brooklyn facility.
To
Request the deed for the One Brooklyn facility.
Kingsborough.
it's the Kingsborough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for the ballot. Was it Brooklyn Kingsborough? Yeah, project, the Kingsborough project.
Yeah, the Kingsborough project is really One Brooklyn. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Well, now
Okay,
you
so I'm
do.
sorry, I interrupted. I shouldn't have. Put the motion on the floor again. It was my fault.
I make a motion that the ULURP committee request from the state the deed for the One Brooklyn facility information. Just a deed for One Brooklyn facility at whatever location it is.
So can you read back that motion?
Okay.
Warren said he
Yes,
makes a
ma'am.
motion for the ULURP committee to request the deed for the One Brooklyn project, wherever it is.
Well, if you could just put in the addresses.
Okay, let me just say what we're talking about. We're talking about, we need to fall for the state deed for the Brooklyn Kingsborough project.
Right.
That's what we're
But
talking about.
Yes, but it's One Brooklyn who is doing it.
No,
So-
very quickly, Warren, it's Vital Brooklyn, Kingsborough
Right.
West. That's the appropriate name of the project.
Right.
I concur.
Thank you.
Okay,
You're welcome.
so can we straighten it out? The Vital Brooklyn, come on now. Come on, Warren, you're an expert.
I think Mia should make the motion that the ULURP committee requests the deed for the Vital Brooklyn project, period. You know, the deed from the state for the Vital Brooklyn project,
Oh,
period.
my God. Okay,
Yeah, Mia, just give the location for the record
Right.
for the secretary to record.
Vital Brooklyn Kingsborough project.
Thought there was a west in there somewhere.
It is Kingsborough West.
West
Vital
project.
Brooklyn, Kingsborough West.
West project.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
Okay.
Suki, can you read it back?
Warren makes a motion to request for the ULURP committee to request that the board obtain the deed for the Kingsborough West Vital Brooklyn project.
Thank you.
I accept that.
Can I get a second?
Second,
I can't hear you.
second,
Oh, Esteban, the second. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Any objection? It passed. Okay, so we're going to end, and again, if I cut anybody off, I apologize for that, but we are in the midst of time. We'll try to look into as many things as we can, but right now, I want to just thank everybody for coming out. And again, don't forget that we did change the date to for our next meeting will be on a Monday, November 7th at 7 p.m. Once again, for all of those that are attending the meeting on the 27th, please, October 27th, please be prepared to report. And for all of those, again, if you don't have the information for the City Budget Commission for Land Use Decision Project, please go read some of it so that we can talk about it. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming. Fred, you want to say something before we close out?
No, just very quickly. First of all, thank you to you, Madam Chair, and to the committee. But I also wanted to throw out, so for the public info session, it was recorded and it is available online right now on YouTube. So if you're not available on the 27th, but you would still like to see the information that was provided, the video link is actually on YouTube. You just look up public info session for City of Yes, and that'll direct you right to the session from yesterday.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank everyone for attending, and
I make a motion to adjourn.
can I get a second on that?
Second,
Who's seconding?
Thomas.
Oh, okay. Okay, there's a second. We're adjourning. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
for
Good
work.
night.